37 years ago today, on August 25th, 1987, a band out of Massachusetts, a school band really, who had just toured China, was on the Today Show talking to Jane Pauley about the experience of exposing Chinese youth to American rock and roll. Misguided Youth? You'd think the Chinese government wouldn't have let such a radically named band there, but who knows? You know, I think they can get into the heads of the kids today. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock.
China may be opening its doors to the West, but is China ready for rock and roll? This summer, the Chinese got a dose of that from an American band that calls itself Misguided Youth. And three members of the band join us this morning. They are John Buxbaum, Mark Winhold, and John Schulman, and they're not sitting in order. That's why we couldn't do a little thing on your face. Basically, these are just five guys from DeSisto School in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Billy Joel in the Soviet Union, you were not, right?
Right.
You wouldn't call yourself a professional rock and roll band.
No.
Heading that way.
Heading that way. Okay, but for now, Mark, you got to explain. DeSisto School is kind of responsible for getting you to China. How did that work?
Well, the school, their big thing is that they'll like to teach people by experiential things, like hands-on stuff, like they would have biology classes in the Keys, you know, they could study underwater biology and stuff like that.
In Florida?
Yeah, in Florida. Yeah. So we wanted to set up jokingly, it was Johnny, he just said, well, every year the school has something in a country, they pick a country to go to. And this year was China, and John said to Michael, this is the founder of the school, just jokingly, can we go to China just to tour and set it up for the school?
So rock and roll in China, did you have, should we call them concerts?
Yeah. With
audiences? I mean, you'd be on a stage, and did they know what rock and roll was?
Most of them, I don't think, knew what rock and roll was. They listened to disco and stuff like that, but I think rock and roll, they've never heard it, but I think they're gonna love it a lot.
I want to hear a little bit about what Misguided Youth rock and roll is, because as it would happen, one of our NBC crews already in China, in advance of our trip, shot some tape of one of your performances, and why don't we look at that and maybe listen a bit now. Was this a big concert for you?
This show actually was one of our smallest shows, but it actually was one of our best, just because sometimes the smaller audiences are better just because it's a lot more intimate. And the best about the smaller shows is we could get people to dance. And that was the big thing, because a lot of times they'd ask us, you know, can you show us how to dance? And like disco is becoming popular there now. So that, I'd say that was the most exciting thing. When people were dancing, that was it. That made it, you know.
Well, they're quick learners, or they already knew a little bit of what you were teaching them.
Yeah, I think they've seen it before, but not, you know, that was definitely the excitement when we got people to dance. That was the big thing.
What kind of material did you do?
We do original material. Sometimes we do a couple songs, covers just for dance songs or something, but...
What they seem to like best?
Actually, we were told that John Denver and the Carpenters are very popular. And I found out the reason why they're popular is just because that's all they've heard. They don't have much access to American music. So we just went out there and played what we usually play, which is like bluesy rock and roll. And
did the officials ever think, oh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all? Did you ever get any sense of that?
We had no problem with it at all. No,
yeah. Now, as Brian and I were talking about earlier, the Chinese don't have the same applause tradition to put your hands together and make noise.
Usually they wait to the end. After each song, they'd sit, you know, and they'd
like
clap
at a
for us
play or something. They don't applaud every scene. Did you get that? And if so,
we usually got a pretty good response.
For every, really?
Sometimes, usually, like Americans were at our shows, and they would start dancing, and they'd start applauding, and that made the whole thing, you know.
Yeah,
then they caught on.
Helps to take some ringers along. All right, Misguided Youth. We'll be looking for you.
All right.
Okay.
We'll be back after a station break.
Thank you for watching Cleveland Live Music. Don't worry, this cop that's approaching is not going to interrupt great uploads. He hopefully supports the channel as much as you folks who hit the subscribe button do. There's Patreon and GoFundMe information that I doubt he's going to do. You can. But subscribe. Keep watching. That's all that counts.